Good morning, y'all. Welcome to the show. Um, Cast Iron Conjure. That's spelled good morning. Welcome to the show. Side EJ, it's good to see you. Welcome in, yo. Rocky and Gerald Sunbright, good to see y'all. Welcome to the show, guys. Um, I have a mind to say, this is gonna be quick, but um, I'm gonna do what I do either way. Today, I um, I want to talk about something basic, I guess, but the trouble with that is the shit that's basic to me is like mind blowing, and it's not self congratulatory. It's irritating. Um, this stuff can be simple, but wanting it to be easy and quick is gonna fuck you up. Um, Wanting it to be easy and quick is gonna fuck. Like that's an easy way to say it, but once again, like I'm saying, the easy shit don't do what you want it to do. You certainly have to grapple with this information. Um, it's not enough to go around and collect different things you've heard people say and think you just gonna get it. Well, you ain't even gotta come to me. Real shit. There's so many places. But larger than that, um, like kind of this is what I mean by grapple with the shit. Oh, metaphysics is philosophy, and I know most times people want to jump straight to oh, this is a science, and a broken clock is right twice a day. Look, I'm not telling you wrong all the way, 100% completely, but when it comes to philosophy, okay, um, the idea is heavier on the side of being able to explore a question as opposed to come into some particular answer that gives you certainty. I have to. Okay, gotcha. Like at first, that may not sound valuable, and really, what I want to say is fuck you, uh, because the arrogance. What do you mean you have the ear to tell what's valuable? Ask a child if they can do that. You know. Oh, of course I can. Yeah, I'm four, mommy. I know I'm not a baby anymore. God, I'm a dick, but you're arrogant, and so there's gonna be a bit of a bump. Um, Seymour, good to see you in the show, the chat. Welcome to the show. These questions in metaphysics, they're huge. They're very big questions, and more important than because this ain't grade school, bro. More important than finding some sense of certainty is being able to effectively navigate the questions themselves. Um, Knowing when to ask a question, knowing why to ask a question, the implications of the question. I'll go there. That's where I'm going to go today. Um, I was thinking about it, wasn't sure if I wanted to, but yeah, I'm gonna. That's where I want to go. So yeah, because even before you can hit what people like to call science, all of that is resting upon the philosophy of science. And philosophy isn't just armchair ruminations and sitting around pontificating and there's some philosophers who are just about spilling ink everywhere and how dare you okay, it's funny, it's fun, but there's more to this. Like, you'd be surprised, mostly because you didn't look, how much philosophy underlies or underpins, that's a good word, um, underpins some of the cultural presuppositions that we have. Let's say cultural presuppositions, they're already confused. Here, I'll start the show. I'll start the show, and we'll get into it. Okay? We'll start the show and we'll get into it. Look, mommy, I did it. I'm sure. It's not my fault. It's time. It's not their fault. What to do? Right, more good to see you in the chat. Welcome to the show, sir. Joe Sunbright, yes, sir. A presupposition is for all intents and purposes a preconceived notion. It can get a little bit more nuanced, but that's not inaccurate at all. Um, so yeah, a supposition. Think of the idea of supposing. I suppose this, that, and the third. Well, I suppose this, that, and the third. They're a priori assumptions or positions, if you will. Because to posit something is to have a position, a supposition. Supposition. Yes, it's for all intents and purposes a preconceived notion. And I don't say that to say that having preconceived suppositions, preconceived notions, is bad in and of itself. It's most certainly not. As a matter of fact, it's necessary. Okay. The issue is having unexamined presuppositions. Okay. And even in general, you know, even in general, it's not bad. God, the whole good and bad framework is gonna fuck you up. It's not that it's negative or you shouldn't do it. When it comes to self initiation, self deification, self transcendence, um, what you're doing, especially in these days, is building from the ground up. You're building from the ground up. And those foundations make all the fucking difference. Like when I say, what is you? Within this you that I'm pointing to, there's a plethora of presuppositions. Don't say plethora. It's a lot of presuppositions. There you go. That feels a little better, right? Yeah, we're all together. It's a lot of presuppositions. I don't have to be a dick, but you don't have to be ignorant. So, not you specifically. Well, maybe you specifically. So, yes. Presupposition is like a preconceived notion. And once again, it's not that you could ever be a blank slate. You're not going to be a blank slate. What you want to be able to do is really contend with what you're taking a priori, what you're taking to be a given. Okay? Um, Misha X, good to see you in the chat. Grand Rising. Grand Rising. This is why philosophy is important. Philosophy is naturally going to draw your attention to the presuppositions. Where is the line of reasoning beginning? What is taken as a given? Let's take physics for example. We love science. Great job, baby. Great job. He's a scientist, ain't you, baby? Don't have to be. I do have to be a dick. Anyways, it's gonna draw you back to the things that you're taking as a given. All right. Like I said, with philosophy, it is more so about understanding how to navigate the question as opposed to resting on some particular answer, uh, attaining a sense of certainty. Like as I said, I'm contending with the different things that also want to say something that isn't going to be as useful, although it's accurate. And so here in the West, in this day and age, people are really impressed with the idea of science. Okay, when there's a science to something, or the science of this, okay, it makes it sound official, right? But that's easy to do, make something sound official. There's a philosophy underlying science. Okay, it's not just a given. Like even if you were to decide mathematics is, like people like to say it, mathematics is the language of the universe. Ooh, oh, mm-hmm. But look, there's philosophy underlying mathematics. Science has a way of giving you a sense of certainty. And how so? How does it do that? The consensus among scientists, the predictability or replicability. There we go. Replicability, or the ability to replicate what someone else has done in a consistent manner. And so it gives you a type of consistency that you can feel certain about. It gives you a type of consistency that you can feel certain about. And people will use that sense of certainty as a foundation. Once again, I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't do. It's not to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. It's to point you back to re-examine what it is you've been doing. Self-deification, self-initiation. You sound so potent. And not to say it's not completely, but it's more than how it sounds. When it comes to that, to take on existence by yourself, it's not impossible. I won't tell you it's impossible. The details make all the fucking difference. Let's get to the point. Would you know the point if we were to get to that? If we were to arrive at the point, how do you know you'd recognize it? That is not their problem. It is my problem. It's my problem. Their problem is their problem. That's my problem. If we were to arrive at the point, what makes you think you'd recognize it? The sense of certainty. The sense of certainty that you would be certain if you saw it. That's part of the reason people get scammed so much these days. Is because they're certain that they're the kind of person who wouldn't be scammed. Mathematics is the language of the universe sounds like an axiom. It is! There you go, Gerald. It is! It's an axiom. And it's not even really a firm axiom. Because when people think mathematics, they didn't question whether or not they have much of a comprehension of mathematics. So, why am I talking about this? I wanted to talk about a bit of a pitfall that's kind of consistent with people. Metaphysics is philosophy. Okay, underneath science is a philosophy that generally goes unexamined. Underneath mathematics is a philosophy. And if your question is which philosophy is right, first of all, you're barking up the wrong tree, because we're going to have to answer what the fuck is right. Like, once again, see, philosophy is about exploring the question more so than finding a particular answer. Oh, but Arius, I want the answer. But do you? No, you want to use the answer to do such and such and such and such. You don't want the answer. You want to use the answer to do such and such and such and such. Whether it's shit on the Christians, haha, religious people. Whether or not it's to shit on the other spiritual people, haha, wait till you see I have the secret knowledge. It's just to show them, to get them to see, to come up in this way, to make your life this, that, and the third. It bothers me. Thank you, love. I appreciate that. But the fact that it bothers me is my own issue. Scientism. Okay. Part of why people have such a sense of certainty when it comes to science is cultural. Like I've made the joke before. It's kind of pretentious a bit. And I'm generally being facetious when I do it. But the same way people would have treated priests and pastors and whatnot, people will treat scientists. Oh, there's a new study that says da 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 da. Scientists believe that da 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 da. Oh, okay. All right. Well, that sounds reasonable. Scientism is the sense that science gives you certainty. This isn't a statement to shit on science. It's shitting on scienceism. Like this certainty in what we call science has created somewhat of a schism. Excuse me. And it's left what is traditionally known as the arts behind. I can go all those different ways. We're going to go this way. Here, let's pull it up so you can have it on the screen, okay? And the reason I'm trying to kind of figure out which way to go with this is because there's so many that can do this conversation more justice. But you won't look at them. You won't go do the research. No, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. I'm convincing myself it's perfectly fine. So, scientism is the belief that science and the scientific method are the best or only way to render truth about the world and reality. Arius, I don't think it's the only way. No. Okay, I know. The absolute hurts you. No, nothing's absolute. Okay. Shh. It's all right. You're right. Nothing is absolute. Well, is that absolute? Say it again. Nothing is absolute. Is that absolute? If you really want to explore metaphysics, okay, which most of you don't, if you were to really want to explore metaphysics or any branch of philosophy, you're going to have to let go of your lifesaver buoy of the sense of certainty. And you may never get it back. It's convenient to say the universe speaks mathematics with only a high school understanding of math. Ha! High school understanding of math is very generous. Very generous. Welcome to the show. Good to see you in the chat. It's very generous. People don't even have a high school understanding of these things. People don't even have a high school understanding of science. And that's not an insult. Like, it can feel insulting, but I'm not insulting you when I say that to the degree to which it's true. The truth about this, all right? Is this real, all right? Is astrology real? Okay, right? Like, see, it's a philosophical question. The concept of real or true are philosophical questions. Science does not answer questions like that. But scientism will have you thinking it does. And it's not a bug in the system. What do you mean science doesn't give you truth? Well, where are you going to get truth from? What is truth? What does it mean for something to be real? Is astrology real? Well, what are you talking about when you're saying astrology? I don't want more questions. I want some answers. Ooh. All right. Ooh, all right. We're going to deal with the question for a moment, okay? What is astrology? What is astrology? Just put down whatever answer you had for a moment, okay? You're not even going to listen to my answer? No, I'm not. Astrology is a methodology. It's a how to do something. Underlying any methodology is an ontology and epistemology, okay? This is somewhat basic philosophy, okay? The image here. Why are you showing me this image, Angel? Hold on, slow down. And especially when it comes to these spiritual, metaphysical images, you've got to look. The shit isn't obvious. The image of this gentleman here. There's 3 to 4 levels of analysis, okay? You have the backdrop, which is somewhat broken into 4 different levels, okay? And you can see which parts of the gentleman's body are associated with which level of analysis. Now look at the very bottom level of analysis, okay? His feet are planted on the surface of this planet, all right? Yes, one's in the water and one's on land. But it's at the very bottom level. From there you can look up, and what do you get next? You get the celestial bodies, more so the solar system, if you will. We're just breaking down the level of analysis, okay? Because you have to have some space to consider, well, hold on. And I'm going to make room for what I don't understand, all right? I'm not talking about some ball floating around in space. Just, above the celestial bodies is the zodiac, okay? The 12-fold pattern. It's a fundamental map. We'll talk about that in a second. And even higher than that is just the head. Okay? So, what are we doing with astrology? Because astrology isn't astronomy. It has nothing to do with the constellations. It has nothing to do with your day-to-day life. You can fashion it to try and read something about your day-to-day life. Because it's just a reading. What you're doing with astrology is a reading. What you're doing with any form of divination, to be honest, is a reading. Okay, come on, now think about the word. Think about the word. I know you want it to be spooky, all right? I know you want it to be mystical, right? And I'm not saying there isn't an aspect that can point to that. Reading. If we were to put text on the screen, what are you going to do with it? You're going to read it. You can take these mystical squiggly lines and from them divine the words of people who are not in front of you. People whose voice you've never heard. You can take the mystical runes, cast them together, and from them read something that's not obvious. There's a format, there's a structure to it. Here, look, I'll put the whole thing in a different language, because so you can more so understand what I mean when I'm talking about mystical squiggly lines. Look, I think this is Korean. Mystical squiggly lines. Oh, but I do that all the time. What are you looking for then? Something you don't do all the time? This work isn't finding some new thing to do. Especially self-deification, self-initiation, self-transcendence. You're going to be re-examining self over and over and over. This is mostly about re-examining what you've been doing, as opposed to finding some new thing. Back to the image, okay? Look. Different levels of analysis, okay? At the highest order, there's only one thing there. If you've heard the principle, all is mind, okay? It's very inspiring, very motivational. But you can replace the word mind with fucking anything. All is love, all is energy, all is frequency, all is vibration, right? Right? The main emphasis is that all things are essentially one thing, okay? Highest level of analysis. At the end of the day, ultimately, okay? That's the easy part. From that, you get the rest of what are called the laws of Tehuti, the Hermetic principles, right? Okay? Those come after that. They don't necessarily invalidate it, but they come after that. A good general place to stop when you're going from one onwards toward infinity is 12. And I'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to get to where I'm going to go. Just walk, especially if you're getting it for free. When motherfuckers want to do this shit, some of the most difficult shit that motherfuckers been grappling with for hundreds of thousands of years, and you want it quick, obvious, simple. Arrogant babies. And then you want it for free. You shouldn't charge for this. Okay, well, what? As opposed to giving you something for nothing, do you have anything else of value? Do you have anything else of value? Let me guess. I should value whatever it is you want to give. Come back. I know. Sorry, I missed the chat. Sorry. Letting go of the sense of certainty is a major offering. It's similar to letting go of the ego for me. Okay. No. I want to see if I agree with that. Not only is it a major offering, because I can understand what you mean, that why a major offering. It's necessary. I wanted to say inevitable, not inevitable. It's necessary. Uncertainty, the unknown, is terrifying. Not knowing is terrifying. But it's so necessary to do. Letting go of the sense of certainty. And philosophy will show you what you're calling certainty is only a sense of certainty. You have to be willing to grapple with these ideas. You have to be willing to grapple with yourself. What does that mean? Is that a metaphor? Niggas love metaphors, especially the English language. Anyways, don't be a dick. The fear of the unknown is natural. It's reasonable to be honest. But there's more there. You have to get beyond the fear. Not get rid of it, control it. You have to be willing to face it. And it's only one thing among many things you're going to have to grapple with. One of the big things is these ideas, but you're certainly going to have to get through the fear. The sense of certainty definitely needs to be questioned. I used to be certain that I was going to die until I was shown that I identified as the body. There we go. And that goes through the basic stuff. I'm gonna go back to that in a second. That goes back to the basic stuff. There's so many people who have so many different spiritual ideas that they've taken from someone else, claimed as their own. And because they haven't actually engaged with philosophy, they haven't asked the basic big questions. They haven't contended with the ideas. And so they miss a lot of it. Anyways. Look, I'm going to go back to this. Here. Okay? This is probably something you need to have sitting next to this. Like I said, there's 4 categories there in the back. And it's dividing what is essentially one thing into 4 things. Okay? Fundamental math stuff. Right below the level of everything essentially being one thing, you have the zodiac, okay? Remember, it's not about the constellations. It's not about planets. Look, that's a level below. We're up a little higher than that, okay? It's about the circle and 12. It's about the circle and 12. There are a set of dynamics that are expressed in the zodiac, okay? There's a set of dynamics. By virtue of those dynamics, level below, you can map out the circular patterns of these orbits. And by virtue of those circular patterns mapped out with the zodiac, you can read the movements. You can read the cycles. Just like you can read a text. And look, reading is one thing. Interpretation and comprehension are completely different. Also necessary. Just because you read it don't mean you can interpret it or comprehend it. Very top, primordial. Very bottom, physical. Right there in the middle, non-physical. 2 different densities of it. Okay, and I've talked about this stuff. Let me go back to the fundamental map. Because this stuff isn't difficult. These are basics. These are basics. They're not basic in the sense that you have nothing to do and you just pick it up and say it. No, they're basic in this is the first thing you're going to have to grapple with. I'm so pissed, and I don't have to be. Let me go, says the ego. Try to. Hey, no one's listening, though. That's about all the ego is doing to you. It's your highest servant. But you won't let it go. And it's okay. We'll get to it. These are huge questions. Essentially, what every spiritual framework is doing is attempting to take the infinite infinity of infinity and map it out, constrain it in a way in which it's intelligible. To take what is ultimately, in its purest sense, unintelligibility, and make it intelligible. Every framework is doing that. Not because it is going to grasp certainty. Not because it will know all that can be known. It's, in a sense, making an effort to grasp what cannot be grasped. Because the alternative to not trying is to ultimately never be able to accomplish it. That's what's going to leave you with the fear, the unknown, the chaos. It's popular to say chaos. Thank you, Bobby and Panic. It's popular to say chaos. All the babies want to say it. Everybody love chaos till shit start fucking up. Then you're looking for the order, right? It's so confusing. I don't know what to do. It's hard. Thought you loved chaos. What these systems are attempting to do, what all models of the world are attempting to do, is constrain something that is beyond being constrained. I tell you, these are maps. These are maps. Well, where am I on the map? Slow down. I said a map, but what makes you think you comprehend a map? God. Arrogant, presumptive little child. What the fuck is a map doing? What is a map? It's a picture. No, no, no. The image at the bottom is a picture. The map, it's an image. It's an image. It's not a picture. Slow down. What is a map doing? It's not just a picture of the park. At the top, you have a map of the park. At the bottom, you have a picture, okay? Neither of which is the territory itself. Sidebar. What is a map doing? The territory itself has infinite amounts of information, infinite amounts of detail. Imagine if somebody gave you a map of the park that had every blade of grass on it. What the fuck would you even do with that map? Why would every blade of grass be relevant? I'm being rhetorical, a bit facetious. Of course it wouldn't be relevant, but that's the point. A map takes an infinite landscape, a landscape that's infinitely complex, and solidifies certain pieces, highlights certain pieces, and downplays other pieces. You look at the map. It just gives green in the background. It's not going to give you every single blade of grass. It's downplaying the significance of every single blade of grass. Why? To highlight other things that are more significant. And not just to do that, not just to highlight things that are more significant, but to give you a comprehension and understanding of the relationship between a few of these things that are more significant. It's not getting everything that can be talked about. Of course not, it's impossible. But you have to understand a bit of philosophy to see why that's impossible. Otherwise, you're going to ask the impossible of things that cannot give it to you. You know, baby will sit there and ask their parent, what's this come from? Well, where's that come from? Well, where does that come from? What does that come from? Looking for the bottom. Testing their parents' comprehension of reality, of how much their parent knows. You can only go on explaining this thing in terms of some other thing for so long. You can only go so far, reducing this to that, and then that to that, and then that to this. There's a pattern going on. This is why all frameworks are going to have something axiomatic, are going to have somewhere they start, are going to have some presuppositions. They're necessary. But you have to examine them. What is the map presupposing? Not your ass. What is the map presupposing? The significance of this or that. There's a pretense to what it's showing you. Al Dickey, good to see you in the chat. Welcome to the show. And once again, the pretense isn't bad, but not recognizing the pretense is going to be bad. Thinking that pretense just goes without saying. It's a bit of a philosophical move. And for one who doesn't explore philosophy, it's kind of arrogant, but whatever. What is a map doing? What is a map doing? Downplaying certain details, highlighting others, and then showing you the dynamics between those details it's highlighting. Well, yeah, I get that. You don't. But it's a map, so shouldn't I see where I am? I gotta know where I am on the map. What the fuck is you? I don't know. Well, the map isn't supposed to tell you that. The map isn't going to tell you what is you. There's a map of an engine. There's a map of an engine. Where are you on the map? You're not there. You're not there. Does that mean this map is useless? No. There's a map of a cell and its organelles. Where are you on the map? You're not there. Is the map useless? No. Here's a map of the park. You're not there. Is it useless? No. And finally, here are maps of the cosmos. Are you on there? No. This is part of the reason I wanted to do the subject I'm doing today. What keeps most people who actually decide to engage in this, what keeps them from understanding is their dedication and allegiance to the idea of themselves. Let me go, says the ego. Cass has hurt me. Don't say, I wanted to say proclivity. Don't say that. Your tendency to need to have yourself at the center of something before you can understand it. Your desire to want to apply what you know before you check whether or not you know. The difference between understanding how a car is put together versus what to do with it. You want to jump to the place where, well, okay, I'll really get it once you tell me what to do with it. What's its purpose? I get the desire to want to do that, but it's short-sighted. This is why some people don't really understand what philosophy is for, because they don't understand what to do with it. This goes back into the scientism. Please follow me. Please follow me. This goes back to the science of what is science doing? Like I said, it's not telling you what is true. It's not telling you what is real. Well, what is it doing then? Good question. What is science doing? It's giving you a model to predict behavior. Predicting the behavior is different from telling you what it is. Atoms are part of a theoretical framework. Not theoretical as in the sense that it's not real. Like, slow down. See, once again, that's an ontological issue. The people who are telling you about atoms aren't suggesting that the world is atoms. They're giving you a model to predict behavior. They're not telling you what the world is. To be completely honest, scientists aren't concerned with what the world is. They're concerned with being able to consistently predict it. This new area says chill. What happened to the continual expression of passionate vexation? Ha. 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 Oh, it's not gone. The pain is still there. I'm just making a huge effort not to make it your problem. And I do that even more in the guild and in consultations. Don't eat your kids. Yeah, but they look like food. Some people can't hear through that. Some people can't hear at all. And they, But no, yeah. I'm only going to do this for so long. Because I'd prefer to eat. But I want to give you every opportunity I can, even at the expense of hurting my bottom line, even at the expense of you deciding not to do what I talk about, not to deal with it, say, fuck you, Aries, completely fine. Completely fine. I'd rather you be set up for success. That way you can go do what I'm not going to do. So it's still there, lurking under the surface. I spend most of my time battling it. Because believe it or not, it keeps me from seeing things I need to see as well. Of course, I'm still learning. But I lost my place. I'm sorry. I had to. Scientism. Certainty. Mystifying the mundane. There we go. I say all of that to say, when people don't understand all of that, what they'll do is take what they think they understand and try and use that. This is why I'm talking to you about what science is doing and what it's not doing. Because you can't use science to do what you're trying to do. You can't use it. It's made not to do it. Okay? So, what people will try and do is make scientific things mystical. Okay? Dark matter. Somatic frequency. Okay. All right. Centrifugal spin of the DNA spiral. Okay. Melanin. Oh, God, yes. Vibration and frequency. Energy. Or they'll even make up words that have no actual substance in the realm of science. Subconscious mind. Sounds really nice. Look, I'm a nerd. Like, some of these motherfuckers who are just learning about scientific concepts, I was actually interested in as a teenager, less than a teenager. Been looking at them and understanding them for years. And so I can tell, listening to these people, that they don't understand these things. But beyond that, they're not made. The thing you're trying to use to do spirituality is not made for that. And I try and find I try and hit the nail on the head. What you're looking for and answering these questions of what is real, what is true. These are metaphysical questions, okay? They're metaphysical questions. I got a question here in the dumb question section. If this is who I think it is, very intelligent person. I'm not saying they're Jesus. I'm not saying they know everything. If, once again, this is who I think it is, it could be someone else. This is the internet. Anyone could be anyone. One of the few people, if only, who, when presented with the fundamental map and its concepts, was able to navigate it relatively quickly. Because I think, to me, that's not a surprise. I think everyone should be able to do it. But to my surprise, most people, what, is that math? And they miss everything. But this is why I try and put you motherfuckers together. Because one of you is good at, another one will be good at something else, another one will be good at something else, and y'all come together, you can actually figure out what the fuck you're looking for. See, it's still there. But, yeah, he was able to grasp some of the dynamics that are present readily. There's actually quite a few of the dynamics that are readily present in the fundamental map. Before I was even calling it a fundamental map, okay? And so I know you niggas can get it. But this person asked a question. Dumb question. 2 points. Great job. Here's a star. What's the difference between mystifying the mundane and deifying the physical world / physical body? Excellent question. It's an excellent question. Now, if you've been following for a while, there's a phrase I use called mystifying the mundane. That's essentially what I've been talking about up to this point. The tendency to mystify the mundane, to build on top of the unexamined agreements and allegiance to scientism, and attempt to mystify it. I'm talking about 9 ether hair. Shut up. Ugh. Mystifying the mundane is something I try and, nudge you away from. But what I do like to nudge you towards, especially in the realm of self-initiation and self-deification, is deifying the physical world / physical body. In fact, there's a technique, I love your techniques, there's a technique I give called the set beast technique, which is specifically deifying the physical body. But you gotta go beyond what somebody has told you to do. Fucking followers. Don't tell me what to do, but tell me what to do. Okay. Anyways, the set beast technique is essentially deifying the physical body. All right, now, what's the difference between mystifying the mundane and deifying the physical body? It's an excellent question. No fakes, it was me, Madman7. I'm Brandon, though. Okay. Look, see? Connections. Good to see you in the chat. Welcome to the show. So, what's the difference between the two? It's an excellent question, okay? And if you like, on your own time, you can go and read the question. You can read the question, read the answer, which I'm going to talk about right now. All these things, all for free, Perfectly fine. You can do it anonymously. I don't want to engage. I'll do it from the shadows. Okay. Perfectly fine, kiddo. But here's the crux, and this is what I want to point to today. It's an issue of the metaphysical framing. The framing of the metaphysics. What do you mean? What do you mean? Shh. Chew on it. What is framing? What is framing? Don't just go for a single simple answer. What is the framing of something? What is the framing of something in relationship to what it frames? Because, like I said, I speak English. The framing of the metaphysics is going to tell you the line of causality. What is causing what? What gives rise to what? Remember I showed you the picture here a second ago. What's at the top? What's at the highest? What's above what? What's giving rise to what? See, I put this one there, and I can, I have the numbers are there on the side, so I'm presuming you get the other things that aren't present. But I saw this one, I was like, when I saw this one, I was like, yeah, I know they didn't get it, but it's okay. It's okay. What's above what? What's giving rise to what? What is primary to what? This is ontology. It's part of metaphysics. It's talking to you about the fundamental categories and their nature or the relationship. So your motherfucker's gonna say ein so fur. Ooh, wonderful. What language is that? Never mind. But not know what the fuck it means. Not know. And when I say what it means, not what is the literal translation of the words. What context do they exist in? Okay, so the difference between mystifying the mundane and deifying the physical body and the physical world, which is what I would suggest you do. The difference is the underlying metaphysics you are using. The difference is the underlying metaphysics you are using. That's what's going to make all the difference. If you want to do this by yourself, if you want to jump out there, not need nobody's help, leave it alone. Leave it alone. I know. Not need anybody's help. Do it all on your own. Never spend a dime. Okay, you can. You can. You can go and never listen to me again. You can. You have to examine metaphysics. You have to examine it, not so you can find the right metaphysics, so you can cultivate the capacity to even understand what a right metaphysics is, to be able to recognize it. That idea of somebody dying in a field of medicinal flowers, them not being able to recognize what's in front of them, what's next to them, their relationship to it. The fact that they could take that flower and cure the disease they're about to die from. The shit you'll learn from actually engaging with this work is like those flowers. It's not going to come out and say, hey, me, in a language that you already know. See, it's still there. It's still there. So, here's what I said, okay? For the record, this is an excellent question and far from dumb. I will mention there is a larger issue of metaphysical framing in general, but that's not as relevant to your point as what I will say. A few typos, typing with my thumbs. Anyways, the difference between the two, deifying the physical and mystifying the mundane, is an issue of causality. Causality. Like I said, what is causing what? Because in general, it is an issue of how the metaphysics is framed. But more specifically within that framing, it's about what is causing what. The dynamics between those fundamental categories. Basically, what is causing what. Which is why I mentioned how metaphysics is framed. To try and make this simple, with mystifying the mundane, what is primary is the physical world. With deifying the physical world, what is primary is what is beyond the physical world. And to me, this is putting it simply, okay? Your biggest issue with the metaphysics you're more than likely currently using, is the causality. Aside from the framing itself, which is more than likely the larger problem, here specifically, your line of causality, and this is where the mystifying the mundane comes in. This is why people will take metaphysical concepts and reduce them to the brain. Well, it's simply the 12 cranial nerves. Right? The 12 cranial nerves. This is simply the spin of the DNA helix. All right, cool. It's the somatic frequency of the 9-ether hair. Oh, okay. The spinal cord vertebrae is the staff of Moses, and the blood in the veins of your body is the Red Sea. This is mystifying the mundane. It's taking a metaphysical concept and bringing it down to say this represents something down here. The metaphysics is pointing in the other direction. It's not pointing down here. But when your metaphysics, the framing you're using, is so deeply ingrained in what is physical, describing the world in terms of what is physical, these are the mistakes you make. When you subtly have not contended with the fact that what you are is not the body, this is what you do. See, it's easy to say, I'm not the body. Of course I'm not the body. It's easy to say. For example, if you're not the body, why upgrade it? Why would you need to unlock it? These are basic ideas you have to contend with. Okay. I hate how much I have to chew baby food. What is causing what in how you view the world? Is the structure of the body what is causing these metaphysical conclusions? No. No. What's mystifying the mundane? For a framework to have something spiritual, you got to comprehend what is spiritual. What is spiritual? It's beyond physical. See, most people's metaphysics don't have a beyond the physical. They divide the world into objective, subjective, where objective is what is real, and subjective is an epiphenomenon of real, or what is real. Ooh, excuse me. To deify the physical world is to go in the opposite direction. That's going to be the only time you're pointing to the physical world. The Egyptians, the people of Kemet, were very good at this one. They had deities for fucking everything. Okay? They had deities for fucking everything. I almost don't even want to talk about this because what people will do is they'll listen and they'll grab onto what they think someone has told them to do as opposed to understanding what the person is talking about. But I can't stop that. Oh, it's still there. I can't stop that. I talk about how the physical world is not the third dimension. Why? Because that would imply dimensionality begins with the physical world, and it most certainly does not. It's popular to say, it's easy to say. It's inaccurate. Like, it can be so simple. All right? Look, why would you want to deify the physical world? Okay. Why would you want to? It's about filling out that metaphysical framing. Okay? It's about filling it in. Because first of all, the framing has to start beyond the physical world. It has to start beyond the physical world. And it's not as simple as say having the word spirit or soul. Like each time just hearing the different shit motherfuckers will say. But you have to listen to it if you're going to hit it on the head. Anyways, it's more than having a new word. Ein Sof, Ein O Sofer. Okay. Kether, Bina, Chokma. All right, look at that. New word. What is it pointing to? Well, here we go. Remember, what is it pointing to? Love. What is it pointing to? It's not the sound vibration. Amor. That's a completely different frequency of sound vibration. But it's pointing to the same thing. It's not the sound vibration. Let go of frequency and vibration for a second, okay? A word is a handle for thought. There's a handle on my cup. What does it do? It allows me to grasp the cup. A handle for thought. A word is a handle for thought. It allows you to grasp a particular thought. Out of any and everything that could be thought, the word allows you to grasp a particular thing, a particular thought. Like I said, it's not the sound vibration. Dog, perro. That's why you don't need the original language. The original ancient language is really, it's because the vibration of the sound. What is it pointing to? What is it pointing to? That's more important. The sound got your attention, but it's pointing to something. You see the picture of Christ. He's pointing up and pointing down. Oh, what's what Baphomet is doing? It's really just Baphomet. No. Slow down, kiddo. As above, so below. What is causing what? Christ in Christianity, he does a miracle. And people say, wow, you're amazing. And he said, it's not me. It's my Father in heaven. What is the word pointing to? Each metaphysical framing is going to come with a different set of words, a different set of concepts and ideas that come together to form the frame itself. The game of chess versus the game of Uno, right? They're both games. They're both games. They have different components that come together to frame the entire game. Which game is right? Which one is the true game? See, when I say it like that, you can see it's a dumb question. That's a dumb question. Which one is right? You give niggas a monopoly board. They got all kind of their own rules. Which one is right? It depends on who's playing. Like when I say what you believe is going to underpin that metaphysics, is going to be part of those presuppositions. It's not to say this is about you. Me and what I believe? I'm special? No. It's to say that your beliefs are going to condition, color your capacity to perceive it. They're going to get in the way most often. There's so much anger. So, for example, with mystifying the mundane is where metaphysical concepts are reduced to physical phenomena, like saying the zodiac is really the 12 cranial nerves. Okay, like we said. Okay, with deifying the physical world, the physical phenomena is an outward expression or appearance of the metaphysical concept. Here, the metaphysical concept is primary or really real. When you say the 12 cranial nerves, or the 12 tribes of Judah, the 12 signs of the zodiac, this is all really just the cranial nerves, then what you're saying is really real is the cranial nerves. It's more real than the 12 zodiac. It's what the zodiac are pointing to. Right? This is mystifying the mundane. Why? Because what's primary is the mundane, and everything else becomes metaphor. It's ass backwards. Okay? With deifying the physical world, the physical phenomena is an outward expression of the metaphysical concept. In this example, the metaphysical concept is primary. What is causing what? That's why. That's why. Correspondence. When most people are teaching you guys this stuff, they teach you correspondence. Correspondence, 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 correspondence. And it's not bad. I think it's probably healthy to have an understanding of correspondence, but correspondence and causality, causation, are different things. There are plenty of times where correspondence will tell you about causality. Okay? Correspondence will tell you about causality in certain respects. Look, pen. There's a correspondence between me releasing the pen and it falling to the table. Okay? All right, look at that. But you have to keep in mind what is causing what. You have to keep that. You have to understand the subtle distinction between the two. Here's a better example I like to use. That correlation is not necessarily causation. Just because there's a correspondence doesn't mean one is causing the other. I do like John Vervaeke's example much better. Here, John Vervaeke uses this example. Over the last few centuries, the amount of high seas piracy has gone down. But at the same time, the amount of CO2 emissions in the atmosphere has gone up. There's a correlation between the two. But is one causing the other? No. No. Correlation, or these correspondences, are not causality. And so what people will try to do and end up mystifying the mundane, exposing themselves, is try and make correspondence causality. They understand the correspondence. They don't understand causality. Or, and this is a little bit of where they expose themselves. The way they frame their causality exposes what their actual metaphysics is. The way they frame the causality exposes what their actual metaphysics is, which is physicalism. You can tell me the correspondence between the 12 signs of the zodiac and the 12 cranial nerves. Great job. Correspondence. What's causing what? The 12 signs of the zodiac are just the 12 cranial nerves. Oh, what's causing what? So it's just the 12 cranial nerves. The cranial nerves and their configuration is what they were talking about, because the skull is heaven. That's really what it is. So we're describing the body. But you're not the body. right? Contradictory, capping ass bullshit. The metaphysical, remember, meta, beyond. Meta, beyond. Speak English. Meta, beyond the physical. Cranial nerves are not metaphysical. DNA isn't metaphysical. Melanin isn't metaphysical. I'm upset because that seems obvious. The vibration of particles in the air is not metaphysical. I encourage you guys to deify the physical world because it'll put you closer to what people thought in ancient times. You think because you're postulating the movement of atoms, well, we now know what they didn't know. It's not that there's some supernatural being in the sky. No. That's just a storm caused by the fluctuation in the energy patterns of the magnetic field of the water molecules. That's not why storms. I was just putting words together there. But the point. You think because you have this particular explanation or framing of the physical world, you can describe reality in completely physical terms. You'd like to think, especially here in the West, colonizer mindset, we knew what they didn't know. And we've moved further. Ha 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 ha! Silly coon, jungle bunny. No, you've just framed reality in a completely different way. And you need to know the implications of the framing you're using. Correspondence could be messy because you start to correspond everything with no filter. Yes. 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 That is what people are doing. And see, like I said, all this corresponding with no filter exposes what they actually believe fundamentally. Listen, bro. You gotta listen to motherfuckers. It exposes what they believe fundamentally. Now talk about spirituality and then talk about real life when they're talking about the physical world. Why? Because what they think is really real is the physical. I'm not saying the physical world isn't real. It's just not really real. There are things that are more real. And just having a word from another language doesn't mean you understand that. Ein Sof, ein Sofer. Oh, sounds amazing. Without the rest of the metaphysical framework, the words mean nothing. And not only that, without living in that framework, the words mean nothing. Many people in the West are familiar with Order of the Golden Dawn. Order of the Golden Dawn. Speak slowly on that part. Okay. Here, let me pull it up. Here's something people are familiar with. It sounds so spooky. It sounds so spooky, right? How to perform the lesser banishing ritual, right? Right? The lesser banishing ritual. I can't wait to banish some shit. Nigga, you don't even say banish in your day-to-day life. Shut the fuck up, right? But no. What comes along with this? See, the chalice, the pentagram, the aphame, the... What is that? They got the challenge. Why is that there? Maybe it's oil. Oil usually corresponds with fire. Anyways, Why are the four elements part of the idea, part of the concept, part of all of their rituals? Why are the four elements part of all of their stuff? Because it's part of their metaphysics. It's part of their metaphysics. It's not just a metaphor for the physical world. It's literally the framing that they live in. This isn't about which framing is right. It's about the implications of the framing that you use. We're talking to four elements. We're not talking about particles. Sure, correspond them to elements of the periodic table. Cool, fine. What does that say about what you think is really real? Look, why don't you correspond the elements to make and models of cars? Well, fire is really the Toyota Sienna. Tap it in. Earth is really the Hyundai Sonata. Oh, look at that. Oh, tapping in, right? Why don't you do that? Because you don't think make and model of cars are fundamentals of reality. That's why you don't do it. You think cranial nerves are fundamentals of reality. You think atoms are fundamentals of reality. That's why you try and correspond. But it's wrong. And it's not wrong because I'm saying it. Even the motherfuckers who study it for life will tell you these aren't fundamentals of reality. Those four items that are on their altar, that are part of the ritual, are pointing to the framing of the metaphysics. The framing of the metaphysics. The hippo, the crocodile, the lion, and the Egyptian pantheon are part of the metaphysics. The metaphysics. These weren't for them metaphors for the physical world. Reducing these metaphysical concepts to physical concepts is telling of what you actually believe. I just want to vomit. Framing this question is hard. Would adhering to focusing on what the brain receives from the mind, making the brain a focal point of causality, be mystifying the mundane? Let me read it again. Would adhering to focusing on what the brain receives from the mind, making the brain a focal point of causality by mystifying the mundane? Not necessarily, because in what you're saying there, the brain isn't primary. But the issue you're going to run into is if the brain isn't the mind, what is the mind? See, the mind is one of those words that doesn't really have its own meaning in contemporary English anymore. Unless you're pointing to the brain, because the culture metaphysically is physicalist, and so it's going to look for the neuron cluster, right? I'm a piece of shit. So no, it's not mystifying the mundane in that sense, but you remember the metaphysical framing or the metaphysical concepts are pointing back to the framing, and so you can use the word mind, but it has to be pointing to something like this. That's just sound. It's not pointing to anything. Dog. It's equally sound, but that word is pointing to something. So, in that sense, what is mind pointing to? Okay, great job. It's not pointing to the brain. But then what is it pointing to? And look, like I said, it's not so much you're looking for a right answer. You're looking for a consistent and coherent answer. Okay? This is why you can't just take pieces of different metaphysics. You can't just take like soul, spirit, mind. Oh, wonderful English languages. But what system are you pointing to? And you have to live in it. Oh, Dawson, didn't see you there. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. So no, you have the line of causality correct, but you want to make sure now you're face to face with the metaphysical framing itself. All right, and that's what you want to examine. I used to do that ritual. I was like, I can just call the 4 angels of protection, but I also didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like sometimes people will be like, oh, I don't believe in Christianity, but I'm gonna call the angels of protection. I'm gonna call the 4 archangels, right? Look, I'm not saying what is real. I'm not telling you angels aren't real. I'm not telling you they are real. I'm telling you they're part of a particular metaphysics. But that's why stuff like the Order of the Golden Dawn, you eat that up here in the West. Because it's part of the framing that the West is already using, which is Christianity. It's not to say it's bad, it's not to say it's wrong, but you have to take into account the presuppositions. Like some of the problems people have and some of the reasons people are rejecting Christianity and all their religions these days is because when you're introduced to this physicalist framework, your old systems don't fit to it anymore. And so either you abandon the systems completely, or you try and reduce the systems to this new idea of the physical descriptions of the world. See, look, physicalism is good for predicting behavior, for creating technological advances that are wholly physical. But it's not good at telling you what the world is. That's a philosophical question. That's a philosophical question. Because look, in order to call upon those 4 protecting angels, you have to believe in angels. Right? And believing in angels isn't just saying, I believe in angels. All right, look, this is why I tell people to look at your fear when you're trying to figure out what you believe. Look, you don't have to state what you're scared of to be scared of it. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. So it's just stating I believe in angels isn't believing in angels. But to call upon the 4 protecting angels, you got to believe in angels. But here's the thing. Atoms and angels don't fit together. The system that atoms come from and the system the angel comes from don't fit together. And you can't reduce one to the other. These philosophical concepts. Like I said, it's more about understanding how to explore the question than it is about finding a certain answer. So yeah, but society ejects. A lot of people do that. A lot of people do that, and so you're not dumb for doing it, right? I think of mind as a medium. You can say that. You can say that. I have to think about medium for a second. The first thing that came up was like a channeler, but no, medium as in something you move through. Here, let me go back to the picture. Well, no, I'll go here. Because if you listen to me, what I tell you is mind is a threefold pattern. It's the means to an end. No, not here, not here, not here, not here. The Trinity. That's why I talk about the Trinity. 1 and 3, by way of 2, is a medium, is a means to an end. Like I said, I give you guys some stuff for free. Where's the one I want? I think I want this one. Now, when it comes to the Trinity, Um, One is always going to be one. That's what it is. But where you place two or three is going to make the difference. Now here at the top, three is the by way of. It's the medium. It's the thing you go through. In order to, it's not even a thing you go through. It's the byproduct. Okay? But when you're looking at the fundamental map, I'm showing you three here because the fundamental map is threefold in the Bookman model. What we know of or would point to in general when we're talking mind is the non-physical reality. Okay? Because you're not going to point to the primordial unless you point through the non-physical. Anyways, yes, it's a means to an end. It's a means to an end. It's a medium, if you will, between that which is the highest and that which is the lowest. If you look at what was it, Henry Corbin, he talks about the imaginal. He talks about hierarchies of angels as well. See, man, there's so many other people to look at, but you have to understand what you're looking at. Anyways, the imaginal realm being the ontological reality between the physical world and the completely wholly abstract world. Similar to what I'm talking about. Look, you got the primordial at the top, physical at the bottom, and then you have this space here in between, this medium in between. So yes, it needs to point back to something. It needs to point back to something. You need to have a larger framework in which you live in. That's what metaphysics is for. That's what you can do with it. It allows you to embody reality. Sorry. I apologize. Same here. Calling on shit, it goes good, then goes straight to shit. Wait, what? Calling on shit. What are you talking about? He's probably talking about the angels. Those 4 angels of protection. There's a reason it's 4. Why? Because you have 4 fingers outside of the thumb. No. See, bro, this is why I give you the fundamental map. Because you got 4 limbs, and that's why there's 4 protection angels. Because really, it's just leg, arm. No. And part of why people do this, once again, not only is it mystifying the mundane and exposing what they really believe, but to the degree to which they're trying to do self-initiation and then trying to teach, in the initiation process, like I've said before, the initiated is called to examine the world outside their body, and there's called to examine the body itself, to find that there's a correlation, there's a correspondence, that they're not separate, as though they may experience it and appear. But those are only the first 2 steps. They're a means to an end. The end is to turn away from the physical world completely. And you're not going to do that. 12 cranial nerves! You're not going to do that. 12 cranial nerves! I know. It sounds sciencey, but it's just not. Like, look, it's going to point you back to the 12 itself. It's going to point you back to 12 itself. Why is 12 significant? 12 is the intermixing of 3 and 4. Why is that significant? No, it's a good question. All right, right here in the beginning. All right, the beginning of the fundamental map. The beginning, 0 and 1. You got that. You have the huge paradox between 0 and 1. But 1, 2, and 3 is the Trinity. There's a multiplicity, a dynamic multiplicity between the 3. All right. This is why everything that you get in the Trinity is going to be the what's the word I want? Momentum, potential. Propulsion. I'll say it like this. It'll be the guiding force for everything that comes afterwards, okay? Because just like at 0 and 1, where there's this bit of a paradox, there's plenty of room to argue and discuss. Just like at 0 and 1, you have the same dynamic at 3 and 4. So to talk about 3 and 4 is to not only talk about 3 and 4, but to point beyond the 2 and talk about 1 and 0. With symbols, With symbols, you're not only looking at the symbol, but simultaneously looking beyond the symbol at what it's pointing to. You have to do both at the same time. You have to not only look at what's there, but look at what it's pointing to. You have to see the thing and see through it. That's how symbols work. It's not just correspondences to the body. Anyways, where was that? 3 and 4, okay? Look. There at the beginning. 3 gives rise to 4. Okay? Coming out of 1, 2, and 3 with the Trinity, 3 gives rise to 4. At 7, 3 and 4 work together. At 12, 3 and 4 are completely intermixed. It's just 3 and 4. It's just numbers. No. Slow down. Look. All the systems are going to talk to you about the union of heaven and earth, if you will. All right. With the Taoism and the I Ching, they have the 8 trigrams, and there's one for heaven and one for earth. In some forms of Christianity or the monotheistic religions, they're talking about the most high and the most low, and the union of the highest with the lowest. See, this is part of the above, so below. Because you can't have heaven and earth in union without the two, above and below. You need the two before you can have the union of the two. But so that's what you're getting with 3, though. But 4 takes it a step further. It builds on it. Like I've said before, the difference between creation and the created. Creation and the created. Heaven and earth, highest and lowest. The union of these two. Generally, symbolically, this is represented with the circle and the square. Generally, the union of those two is the representation we're talking about. We'll do it symbolically with the geometry. It's the circle and the square, okay? Between those two is the triangle, all right? Circle 1, triangle 3, square 4. Circle 1, triangle 3, square 4. All right? In the relationship between 3 and 4 is the nature of 1, 0, and 2. Everything that's going on there, like I said, a symbol. You have the symbol, and you see through the symbol to what it's pointing to. 3 and 4 is the symbol. You see through it what it's pointing to. That's 0 and 1. Because you can... I don't need to go that way. So, 3 gives rise to 4. That's the first relationship. At 7, 3 and 4 are next to each other. 3 plus 4, right? 3 times 4 is 3 and 4 completely intermixed with one another. That's 12. This is why a lot of systems will go only to 12. Because once again, like I said, you're taking the infinite infinity of infinity and trying to map it out. And so unless you start somewhere and stop somewhere, you're going to fall into an infinite regress. And eventually you're not saying anything anymore. You can only explain things in terms of other things for so long. You have to constrain the ideas. What is a map doing? It's not a picture of the park. It's downplaying certain ideas and highlighting others. All the systems do it. All right? This is why you have to have somewhere to start and somewhere to end. And none of that is definitive or certain. And that's not a bug in the system. It's a feature. So are the words are handles for thoughts. All words are handles for thoughts. Our thoughts are framed in language. That's part of it's a cultural thing. You have to learn to speak. It's John Vervaeke, I think, called it a psychotechnology. What would be the case if instead of mind we use a deity or name that points to a system? One question. Because no, it doesn't anymore. Anyways, I'm sorry, I went somewhere. What would be the case if instead of mind we use a deity or name that points to a system? Well, this is what the old systems used to do. All right? Because a deity is part of a system. Like the two aren't exclusive. So Just pointing to a deity points to the whole system. Just pointing to 3 and 4 points to 0 and 1. They're not separate from one another. So if I say Thor, not only am I pointing to the deity, but I'm pointing to the entire pantheon. Amun-Ra, pointing to the deity, points to the entire pantheon. The 4 angels of protection. You want a system because it's something to hold on to. The idea of angels have a context in which they exist. The two are not separate. They rely on one another. Imagine the Norse pantheon with no deities. You don't have a pantheon. Imagine the deities with no pantheon. They don't exist. The two are not separate. The two are not separate. So when you're pointing to the deity, it's pointing to the system it comes from. This is part of the reason you don't want to take this and that, and this and that, and this and that, and just claim to be dealing with all of them. It's not to say you can't, because look, and this is what will happen if you do. Okay? If you don't find a system that underlies all of them, you're going to make you the center of everything. You're going to miss what's being talked about. You're going to misunderstand all the pieces, and you're going to make you the center of it. And more often than not, when someone has done that, they haven't even examined what is you. They just have this bucket. This is you. This is me. I'm all these things. And now you doesn't mean anything until it's convenient. I'm not saying you have to use the old systems. This is what the guild is for. I will take you through the steps to develop a system from the ground up. But it's work. The details make all the difference. Trying to reframe humanity is going to be difficult. Even the concept of human is post-colonial. I'm saying, like, even the concept of human is post-colonial. We weren't human before then. Hell, you know that's easy. Look, white folks already assume everything but white folks weren't human. We weren't trying to be human. Human is part of a system. The word is a handle for thought. It pulls a particular thing. Other shit comes along. It does not exist in a vacuum. It does not exist isolated. Context. You pull that handle of thought, the handle for thought, a word, dog. You pull on dog, other shit comes along. 4 legs, fur, snout, teeth, bark. Hell, you pull the handle for bear. Some of those same things come along. 4 legs, fur, snout, teeth. But there's a difference. You pull dog and you pull bear, not the same thing. But what's connecting them otherwise? It's called an archetype. A mammal, even particular types of mammals. See, there's all kind of classifications. There's all kind of ways archetypes work. Excuse me. When you're looking at in the sense of non-physical, you have, like I said, the created and creation. You have the upper levels of the non-physical and the lower levels of the non-physical. The upper levels being the archetypes, and the lower levels are the results of the archetypes and their intermixing, all of which eventually manifest in the physical world. For example, archetype of plant, okay? Higher order archetype. Down a ways. Underneath the archetype of plant, tree, bush, flower, right? Bit lower down on the scale. Underneath flower, rose. All right? The archetype of rose is the rose of roses. But from that one archetype is manifesting, there are infinitely many roses that manifest from the rose of roses. That's the only the rose of roses is the only rose that's perfect. It's the only rose that's perfect. Every other rose that manifests from that rose of all roses orbits the perfection of that rose. That's one archetype. That's one line, okay? But once again, what am I doing here? Not only am I giving you the framework, I'm showing you what causes what. I'm showing you the line of causality. The framework is supposed to come with that. So yeah, the deities and the system are not separate. They're not separate. And what happens, once again, when you grab a bunch of pieces and you try and just say they're all the same or they all fit together, you're going to create a metaphysics. But it's not going to be what you thought it is. It's going to be even more difficult and confusing and chaotic. Like, you know, what's the show? The anime, Full Metal Alchemist, where they create the homunculi and the chimera. You thought you knew what you was doing putting all that shit together. Nah, it turned out to be something you weren't even ready for. You're going to end up making bullshit. What does means to an end mean? How do I say this? Let's see what this says. It's an idiom. I'm pretty sure of that. It's an idiom. It's a phrase. It's a concept. Like, the means is what you do for the ends. A means to an ends. The ends is the end result, the product. The means is how you get to that. The by way of. Okay? Like, sometimes there's a discussion or the conversation about, do the means justify the ends? So the ends is world peace. But let's say your means, your method to get to that, is genocide. So do the means justify the ends? If the ends are so important, this ends of world peace is so important that we'll go through the means of genocide. We'll go through any means, by any means necessary, to get to the ends. Do the means justify the ends? Or sometimes do the ends... Yeah. Does the means justify the ends, or does the ends justify the means? Philosophical conversation. But, large conversation. But that's what philosophy will prepare you for. To explain, or to explore the questions. Yeah, means leads to an ends. You have the start, you have the ends. The shit in between is the means. Fair question. Fair question. When using oil paints or paints in general, they're mediums you can use to make move like oil painting. You would use linseed oil, glaze, etc. to make the paints move. Wait, what? Cardinal points? So you mean points instead of paints? No, because you're talking about oil paints. Why are you talking about oil paints, Dawson? We're using oil paints. Maybe it's because of the word medium. The medium you can use to make move like oil painting. You would use linseed. I don't know. Yo, what's glitching? Good to see you in the chat, Amar. You probably glitching. No, I want to go anywhere else with this, man. Do I want to go anywhere else with this? Yeah, so you're probably talking about oil. Yes, you're talking about oil because of the word medium. All right. So, look, guys. This stuff is so much more than picking up a pocket full of new words. You don't have to do what I tell you to do. You can completely dissociate yourself from me. Fine. But do the research. If you are going to open your mouth to teach, do the fucking research. Linseed is used as a medium to make oil paints move. What do you mean make oil paints move? I don't just want to assume you're talking nonsense and that's nothing to do with what I'm saying. What does he mean? I don't know. Is this like something you put on wood before you paint it? You said it makes it move. Is it to make it easier to paint? I don't know. I don't know, Dawson. I'm sorry. I have no idea. I have no idea. Anyways, it's more than getting some new words. The details make all the difference. This isn't about superpowers. It's not about making your life what you think it's supposed to be. As always, guys, my comments stay open. You're free to ask what you like. All the material I talk about, you're free to take, even pretend it's your own. Don't care, okay? I'll redirect you to other people you can look at for free, words you can look up for free. But if you want some guidance on this stuff, you want the basics made simple. Assistance, help, get in the guild. If you're too shy and you need it extra private, get a consultation. I'm telling you, the guild is gonna do you more justice. But, everyone's unique and special. Anyways, guys, this is my thing. I'm gonna be doing office hours later today for those in the guild. I'm probably gonna extend it a little longer because reasons. Anyways.